Grandma, help me.
I was stunned by the sight of my 7-year-old granddaughter seeking help while visiting my son's house. She was chained up inside the room. My grandchild's body, which I hugged in a hurry, was skinny. "Where are your parents?"
They locked me up and went on a trip.
Not only that, but she hadn't eaten or drunk anything for 3 days. I gave her tea from my bag and put caramel in her mouth, then called an ambulance in a hurry. My granddaughter closed her eyes in relief in my arms. I can't forgive them for doing such a horrible thing. I decided to send my son and daughter-in-law to hell in place of my helpless granddaughter. I'm Nancy, 62 years old. I work part-time at a 24-hour supermarket about 4 days a week. I live alone because my husband passed away 5 years ago. I'm not struggling to make ends meet because my husband left me some assets, but I wanted to work while I'm still healthy. My son Michael got married 8 years ago and lives in a house about 30 minutes away. My daughter Olivia got married 6 years ago and moved to the neighboring state, but I felt relieved because we could meet if we wanted to. Some people say that living alone is lonely, but it's free and easy. However, there was one thing that worried me. It was about my son's family. My son's wife, Sophia, is 10 years younger than my son. I was worried because she was only 18 when they got married. She met my son while working part-time at the convenience store where he worked as a manager. I was surprised when she came to greet me for the first time.
"Oh, you're Michael's mom? You're pretty young. I'm Sophia. Nice to meet you."
Huh? Pretty young? Oh. Nice to meet you. I'm Nancy.
You seem like a nice person. By the way, can I have some pocket money? Can you ask to give me some, Michael?
I felt uneasy seeing Sophia's flashy makeup and childish behavior. Not only that, but she couldn't speak politely and even begged for money. I couldn't stand watching my son fawn over his young girlfriend either.
Hey! Mom, isn't Sophia cute? Treat her like your real daughter and give her some pocket money.
I wanted to hit my son's head for his ridiculous comment, but I held back because Sophia was there. "I'm sorry. I don't have any cash on me right now."
You're stingy.
Sophia clicked her tongue and pouted like a child. To be honest, I wanted to oppose their marriage because of this situation, but I had to accept it because Sophia was already pregnant with Michael's child. I thought that even though Sophia was young, she would become a little more responsible once she became a mother, but my expectations were dashed. After getting married, my daughter-in-law started giving me various reasons such as severe morning sickness and feeling heavy to ask me to do things for her.
Hey, Nancy. I'm feeling nauseous, so can you go shopping and make dinner? I want steak.
You're feeling nauseous, but you want to eat meat?
Huh? Oh, it's for Michael. I'll only eat a little. Oh, and if you could buy some ice cream, that would be great.
I don't know what she thinks of me. I wanted to complain, but I didn't have any words to say to her ridiculous requests. In addition, Sophia asked me for some money because my son's income was low and they couldn't live a satisfactory life. I gave her about $350 every month. When I consulted with Michael, he said this.
Yeah, that's right. The store's business has been bad lately, so my salary has decreased. I appreciate your monthly support. Thanks, Mom. In return, we'll take care of you in your old age.
I didn't care about the old age talk, But it was true that my son and daughter-in-law were struggling financially, just as Sophia had said. It must be difficult for Sophia to work with her pregnant body. Although the $350 was my part-time job salary, I had no choice. We're family, so we have to help each other when we're in trouble, right? Sophia's parents lived far away, and she was still young. I thought that way and accepted her requests. However, my feelings didn't get through to them. I had no idea that my son and daughter-in-law would cause such an incident at that time. After my exchange with my selfish daughter-in-law, I became more and more frustrated. However, Sophia's pregnancy went smoothly, and she gave birth to a cute baby girl. Her name was Mia. "Sophia, you did a great job. She's such a cute little girl," I said to Sophia, who had just given birth. But I was surprised by her unexpected response.
Huh? She's not cute at all. She doesn't look like me. Her eyes are small, she's ugly, and she looks just like you, Nancy.
I couldn't believe my ears. How could she say such a thing about her own child? Her face is a little swollen right now because she was just born, but the swelling will go down soon. She has beautiful features and looks like you, Sophia.
Hey. Old lady. Are you saying that this ugly baby looks like me?
I was shocked when my daughter-in-law suddenly got angry. Then, my son started to agree with her.
Yeah, she does look like Mom. I wish she looked more like beautiful Sophia.
I was furious with their comments, but I could only hope that Sophia's emotions were unstable because she had just given birth and that she would eventually come to appreciate the baby's cuteness. Sophia continued to ask me to do things for her, perhaps because Mia was a handful. Meanwhile, my granddaughter grew up pure and healthy and began speaking at the age of 2.
Grandma, I love you.
I remember being so happy that I cried when she said that. Grandma loves Mia too. You're a precious little treasure. Mia was pure and obedient, so she seemed like an easy child to raise from my perspective. However, Sophia scolded the young Mia everything, giving in to her own emotions.
Ugh, be quiet. Stop crying. Can't you hear the TV?
Sophia, maybe Mia is crying because she wants to be comforted by her mom. Why don't you play with her?
Humph. She's my child, so don't tell me what to do. You old hag.
Sophia raised her voice and spat on me while turning up the volume on the TV. I was concerned about her lack of proper parenting, so I took care of my granddaughter at my son's house on my days off and after work. However, Sophia began to look at me with a nasty expression, and it became more and more obvious. When Mia turned 4 and became less of a handful, Sophia began to avoid me. One day, I visited my son's house with some delicious sweets as a souvenir and tried to feed them to Mia. However, no one answered the intercom, so I pressed the button several times. Suddenly, the door opened, and Sophia came out with a bright red face, furious.
You're so annoying. Can't you tell that you're being avoided?
Ha! Do you hate me coming here?
It's because of you that Mia is closer to you than me. You're a nuisance.
To my surprise, Michael was behind Sophia. He had also been avoiding me.
Mom, stop bullying Sophia. Don't you feel sorry for her? Don't come here anymore.
But what about Mia?
We're here for her, so you don't need to worry.
I was worried about my granddaughter. but I couldn't argue with her parents. I had no choice but to give up visiting my son's house. Michael, despite refusing my visits, made a brazen request.
Hey, I'm short on living expenses. Can you keep sending me money every month?
I thought that he wanted to use the money to buy delicious food and beautiful clothes for Mia. I thought it would be used for Mia's sake, even though I couldn't be with her, so I continued to send money. However, looking back now, I should have kept visiting my son's house no matter how much he disliked it. If I had done that, things wouldn't have turned out like this. When Mia turned 7, a terrible incident occurred. I sometimes had to go to work before 5 a.m., and when I passed by my son's house, the lights were on for 3 consecutive days, even though it was usually an unoccupied time. I became suspicious and visited my son's house the next day. When I opened the front door, an abnormal scene unfolded before me.
Grandma, help me.
Mia cried in tears. She was chained to a pillar in the living room. There was no heating in the room, and she was shivering from the cold. When I hugged her in a hurry, my granddaughter's body was skinny. She had lost a lot of weight since I last saw her. Her face was pale, and she had no color in her cheeks. "Where are your parents?"
They locked me up and went on a trip.
My granddaughter replied. Not only that, but she hadn't eaten or drunk anything for 3 days. I searched my bag in a hurry and gave her a bottle of tea to drink and put caramel in her mouth. Then I called an ambulance in a hurry. Mia closed her eyes in relief in my arms. I can't forgive them for doing such a horrible thing. I accompanied her to the hospital, but I couldn't get in touch with my son and daughter-in-law on my phone. My granddaughter's life was saved, but her nutritional status was quite poor, so she had to be hospitalized. I was worried, and then an even more terrible situation arose. After the hospital reported the incident to the police, I was questioned by a detective who accused me in a strong tone.
Did you cause your granddaughter to suffer like this?
I explained desperately. No, I lived separately and happened to find her. I was finally released 2 hours later. After that, I contacted my daughter Olivia, and she and her husband rushed over from the neighboring state by car. I entrusted my granddaughter, whose condition had stabilized, to my daughter and son-in-law and returned to my son's house by taxi. When I investigated, I found a travel schedule on my son's desk, and I learned that he would return home the next night. When I asked the neighbors around my son's house, I discovered some surprising facts. I went back to the hospital again, discussed with my daughter and her husband about future measures, and made a bold decision. The next evening, when my son and daughter-in-law returned home, I left the hospital where my granddaughter was being treated and visited my son's house. When my daughter-in-law opened the door, she frowned and crossed her arms.
What are you doing here? I'm busy, so go home,
she said rudely. Although I was almost broken by her impolite words, I couldn't back down now. I came to see Mia. Please let me see her. Sophia clicked her tongue.
Ugh.
She lied that Mia was with a friend. That's strange. Mia was supposed to be chained up here. You didn't even look for her when she disappeared? I showed them a photo of Mia when I found her. My son and daughter-in-law looked at each other with a darn it expression. Why did you treat your lovely daughter like this? Are you still parents? Mia was shivering from the cold and hadn't eaten anything. However, my son and daughter-in-law raised their voices and became defiant.
It's Mia's fault. We're raising her with love, but she's rebellious.
If we don't chain her up, she'll destroy everything in the house. We have no choice.
Sophia lied to make Mia the bad guy. They showed no signs of remorse. You two went out and played together until late at night and left Mia alone. How can you say that?
Sometimes I have to work late. Don't say weird things.
I know everything. You two are becoming famous in the neighborhood.
Huh?
I went around asking the neighbors to find out about my son and daughter-in-law's situation. Since I visited frequently when Mia was young, I knew many people in the neighborhood. Everyone was worried about my granddaughter and told me what they knew. Mia was once alone in a nearby park until late at night, and it seems that the house was locked. In the middle of a freezing winter, a neighbor who couldn't bear to see her in tattered clothes let her into their house and took care of her. Every night, my son and daughter-in-law returned home late, and they were seen playing at casinos and bars. Everyone in the neighborhood is saying that we have to do something about Mia's situation.
But if we give her the key, she'll destroy everything in the house.
That's not true, is it? You locked her up because you didn't want her to eat anything when she was hungry, right? Poor Mia's body is so skinny because she's not getting enough nutrition. I actually heard from Mia herself at the hospital. One day, she was waiting for her parents to come home late and became so hungry that she couldn't stand it, so she ate a cake from the refrigerator. However, it turned out to be Sophia's, and my daughter-in-law was furious. After that, they didn't give Mia the key and left her outside. When Sophia heard my story, she glared at me.
I can't think of Mia as cute because she looks like an old hag like you. If Mia is so important to you, I'll give her to you.
I was speechless at her ridiculous statement. Mia has been diagnosed with poor nutrition and is hospitalized. My support money wasn't for Mia, but for your own entertainment.
Humph. Children's money belongs to their parents. We can use it however we want. Don't be stingy.
Leaving a child unattended without raising them properly is a crime. Besides, the police have already been notified. My son and daughter-in-law's faces changed color for a moment when they heard the word police, but they immediately retorted.
It's not a crime. If we say that Mia is picky, no one will know that we're not feeding her even though she's skinny. Besides, the neighbors' stories are just rumors and aren't evidence.
They smirked triumphantly and said, "You don't even know that?" I recorded your statements just now. In addition, there is a person who testified more clearly than the photo of Mia chained up and the hospital diagnosis.
Who?
It was actually my granddaughter Mia who testified. I was almost arrested because I was suspected, but thanks to Mia, the misunderstanding was cleared up.
It wasn't Grandma who caused me to suffer like this. It was Mom and Dad.
It became clear that my son and daughter-in-law were at fault. My son and daughter-in-law lost their escape route and began to panic.
Wait a minute. Hey, can you tell the police that it was you who chained her up? That way, we'll be saved.
That's right. You're Michael's parent, aren't you? Parents are supposed to protect their children. Help us.
I was disgusted by their selfishness. I don't want to hear that from you. Who treated your own child so badly? I'll stop being Michael's parent from today.
What? Mom, won't you help me? Is it okay to do that and not see Mia?
I won't give Mia to you.
What?
I told Michael that I was cutting ties with him and that he had to leave the house where he and his wife lived. Actually, the house they lived in was my family's home, and I had lent it to them under my name.
I don't have any money, so I can't be kicked out. Please help me.
Michael was clinging to me and begging for forgiveness, but I coldly told him, "You're apologizing to the wrong person. Besides, Mia said she doesn't want to see you anymore. It's sad when a child gives up on their parents." I held back my tears, thinking of my granddaughter's feelings. I won't cry in front of these people. The police arrived at that moment. I had already informed the police of the time when my son and daughter-in-law would return home. They were taken away while crying and screaming, and I watched them coldly. After the police investigation, they were found guilty of high malice. The rumors spread throughout the neighborhood and were widely reported on TV. My son's name and face were exposed to the public, and he lost his job and his life fell apart. Now he lives on the streets. Sophia disappeared, but I heard rumors that she was working for daily wages in the city at night. Mia was taken in by me, and my son and daughter-in-law were sued for $100,000 in compensation and child support for Mia. I sold the house I had lent to my son and my own house, and bought a condominium near my daughter's house and moved in with my granddaughter. My childless daughter and her husband love Mia. I hope these peaceful and happy days will continue forever.
How was this story? Please subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.
My brother is in the garden.
In the midst of a hurricane with a violent thunderstorm, my 4-year-old daughter pointed outside. I couldn't believe my ears. After all, my son had passed away in an accident 5 years ago. However, I knew my daughter had a mysterious power. Thinking it couldn't be, I glanced toward the garden, and there stood my son, who was supposed to be in heaven. After that, a terrifying truth was spoken from his mouth. Shaking with rage, I vowed firmly, "I'll make them pay for this." I am Hannah. Born in New York, I lost my parents when I was very young. I spent my days moving from one relative's house to another. I should learn a skill for a stable life. I decided to study Spanish and started working as an interpreter and translator. Then, 10 years ago, when I was 25, I traveled to the West Coast with a friend from overseas. It was during that trip that I met Tony, who was the same age as me.
Welcome to our place.
He was the heir of the hotel where we stayed, and he was running it with his mother. Tony, apparently smitten by my fluent Spanish, pursued me relentlessly.
My father passed away a long time ago, and it's just me and my mother running the hotel. It would be great if you could become part of our family.
Yes, I would love that. Let's make this work together. Overjoyed at the thought of having the family I had always dreamed of, I decided to marry him. And so, I moved to the West Coast to live with my husband and my mother-in-law, Carol, helping them run the hotel. A year after we got married, our son Kevin was born. He had long eyelashes and cried so energetically.
Hannah, you gave birth to a boy. You've done so well.
Now we won't have to worry about an heir.
It seemed both of them had hoped to pass down the family hotel, small yet rich in history, to a son. I never cared about the gender, but I'm happy they're so thrilled about the baby's birth. As I smiled, Tony and my mother-in-law were taking turns holding the baby as if competing for him. Then, When Kevin turned 4, something happened.
We've decided to build another hotel on a small island, 3 hours away by car and boat.
Suddenly, Carol excitedly announced her plan to expand the business and build a resort hotel on a remote island. Why in such an inconvenient place? But surely, she has a reason. While puzzled by the choice of location, I decided to support her in this new business venture. Little did I know that this new hotel, which would come to be known as the Annex, would drastically change the lives of Kevin and me. The Annex Hotel didn't make any profit after it opened and became deeply in debt. At first, guests came not only from within the US but also from South America, eager to experience the charming town. However, the staff only spoke English. As a result, the tourists who stayed for extended periods gradually stopped coming. Even guests from around the West Coast visited, but since the island lacked tourist attractions, most of them only stopped by without staying overnight.
Hannah, you can speak Spanish, right? Become the landlady of the Annex.
Frustrated with the hotel's lack of popularity, Carol summoned me to the office of the main hotel and gave me this order with a serious expression. Me? Are you sure you want me to?
Hannah, you're really good at Spanish. Please, we're family, right?
Standing next to my mother-in-law, Tony rubbed his hands together and bowed to me.
It'll only be for a short while, just until the business stabilizes. After that, you can come back to the main hotel and take it easy.
This is when family has to come together and unite.
Her sharp voice in the word family stirred something deep in me, having grown up without one. If my language skills can be of use, I'll give it my all. That was the decision I made, but little did I know, it was the gateway to a living nightmare. Every day, I traveled 3 hours each way to the remote island, starting early in the morning. Good morning. The weather's nice today. Do you have any fish you recommend for tonight's hotel dinner? I valued my relationships with the islanders, focusing on local consumption and using local ingredients in the hotel. Fishermen and farmers would greet me warmly on the street, saying, "Hannah, you're full of energy again today." I just want, little by little, for this new hotel to be accepted by the islanders and people from around the world. I worked hard, creating a website, consulting with travel agents, and making steady efforts to improve. However, running a business wasn't so easy that immediate results could be seen.
Hannah, another month in the red. What are you doing?
At the end of every month, Carol would harshly reprimand me. She scrutinized every expense, and if something displeased her, I would endure a 2-hour lecture for each item. Many nights, she yelled at me until late.
I can't believe you have no sense for business. You're always making Mom take care of Kevin. You need to take responsibility.
I was ordered by Tony and my mother-in-law to cover the deficit using the savings I had built up during my single years. I barely had time to sleep, let alone spend with my son, so I didn't have the energy to argue back.
You're driving away the guests with your fancy New York English.
Exactly. You lack determination. You're not putting in enough effort. Running a business isn't a game.
Harsh words thrown at me from both of them. Yes. I'm sorry. Ashamed of my own inadequacy, I hunched my shoulders and apologized, handing over my money to my husband and mother-in-law. The savings I had accumulated as a single woman were disappearing rapidly. During the time I was still obeying Tony and Carol, something unexpected happened. Ugh. The smell of coffee. It's making me nauseous. I found out I was pregnant with our second child.
How could you let this happen when things are so busy? You'll still need to work.
Despite my severe morning sickness and feeling faint, Carol glared at me.
If you're too sick to get on the boat, you'll just have to stay on the island. Pregnancy isn't an illness. Don't you dare get soft on me.
As if I were being kicked out, I was made to live at the annex while pregnant.
Kevin is the heir, so I'll be the one to properly educate him.
My mother-in-law, who doted on 5-year-old Kevin, refused to let me take him with me, insisting that the mainland had better education and healthcare than the island. She's right. Kevin has his kindergarten friends here. It's hard, but it's only for a little while. Once things settle down, I'll come right back. So, I decided to leave Kevin in the care of Tony and Carol. About 2 months after I began living on the island, my morning sickness finally eased. I became even closer to the islanders, and together we came up with ideas like holding regular events to attract more guests and adding more signs in foreign languages. As I thought of my son's smiling face, I started to think it might be time to return to commuting from the main hotel. But just then, I received a phone call from my husband.
Kevin. He was in a car accident. He passed away just now.
I couldn't comprehend what he was saying. But realizing I needed to get to my son immediately, I simply said, "I'll come back right now," and was about to hang up.
What are you talking about? The sea is rough right now.
His words jolted me. Unfortunately, a hurricane was approaching at that very moment, and all boats had been cancelled. For the next few days, I couldn't cross the sea, and during that time, Kevin's funeral and cremation had already taken place.
We had to rush everything because of the crematorium's schedule.
Hearing that over the phone, I was left stunned. But when Tony sent me a picture of our son's memorial photo, reality hit me hard.
Kevin ran out into the street. It's our fault. But it's because you didn't discipline him properly, Hannah.
Even while I was grieving, Carol blamed me, leaving me utterly lost. If only I had made the hotel successful sooner and stayed by Kevin's side, maybe this wouldn't have happened. Unable to be there for my son in his final moments, I spent my days in tears. Finally, when the boats resumed, I contacted Tony, asking him to pick me up at the port. But in a somber voice, he hesitated, saying, "But
If you come back here, you'll just be surrounded by memories of Kevin, and it'll be too painful. Why don't you stay at the annex for a while?"
Exactly. Right now, you should focus on the baby that's coming.
Even my mother-in-law, who had taken over the phone, encouraged me to stay on the island, perhaps out of concern for my grief. But I want to visit his grave.
What are you talking about? If something happens to our next child, we really won't be able to recover. Let's just focus on the baby right now.
With both of them urging me, I reluctantly decided to focus on the pregnancy. More than 6 months passed, and without returning to the mainland even once, I gave birth to our daughter, Kate, on the island. Like her brother, she had long eyelashes and was full of energy. The neighbors adored her, and she grew up healthy and strong. This time, I was determined to raise her on this nature-filled island, so I could always be by her side. My husband respected my wishes, and my mother-in-law, having no interest in a girl who wouldn't be an heir, easily agreed. However, Tony, busy with work at the main hotel, only visited the annex about once a month. I was also occupied with balancing childcare and my responsibilities as the landlady, so even though we saw each other less often, I thought that as long as we both worked hard, things would eventually settle down.
Sorry, but I won't be able to visit next month.
What? I won't get to see Daddy?
One morning, while we were having breakfast at home near the annex, Tony, who had come to visit the day before, announced this. Our daughter, who had just turned 4, puffed her cheeks in frustration. As Kate entered kindergarten, Tony visited the island even less frequently. Then we'll come see you. I haven't left the island since she was born.
What? Are you serious? The hotel still needs a lot of work. You can't just leave. You can't afford to take running this business lightly.
Whenever I suggested visiting the main hotel, Tony would get angry, spitting his words in frustration. Seeing him pay more attention to his hairstyle and stylish bags than before we got married made my chest tighten with unease.
I see, Mommy's the innkeeper, so let's work hard together.
That's right. You and Mommy both need to work hard and make the hotel thrive. We're aiming to be the best in the world.
Tony's passionate dedication to the hotel made me feel guilty for doubting my family. It's only natural for him to care about his appearance since he's in the hospitality business. I told myself, convincing myself as I focused on raising Kate and managing the inn on the island every day. Less than a month later, the largest hurricane in recent history was heading toward the island where the annex stood. All the residents were evacuated to the mainland.
I'm scared.
On the boat heading to the port, my daughter clung to me, her voice trembling with fear. Don't worry, Mommy's right here with you. I held Kate tightly. 4.5 years ago, during that hurricane, I couldn't even hold my son's hand, but now, being by my daughter's side, I felt grateful I could raise her myself. We're back. As soon as we arrived, I went straight to the office of the main hotel.
Hannah? What are you doing here?
And you brought Kate too. Why did you come here?
Both Tony and Carol, who had been taking a break, screamed in surprise. I'm sorry, but the hotels near the port are either closed or have no vacancies. I gave up my room to the islanders and came here instead. In fact, I had been instructed by them to stay at one of the hotels near the port so I could resume work as soon as the hurricane passed. I had changed my plans last minute, so their reaction was understandable, though it seemed a bit exaggerated. However, the familiar atmosphere of the main hotel brought back nostalgia, and I felt as if my son was nearby. The odd feeling quickly faded. Kate, on the other hand, was fascinated by the mainland hotel, looking around curiously for the first time. Tony quickly stepped in front of her, blocking her view.
Coming all the way here during a hurricane is dangerous.
You must be exhausted. There's a nap room available, so rest there. We've got guests here. And don't come out until we come to get you.
In a fluster, they hurriedly ushered me and Kate into the room. Huh? Normally, they'd tell me to get to work. Their behavior puzzled me, but I decided to take the opportunity to unpack and relax.
My brother is here.
Suddenly, Kate, as if possessed, ran toward the window. She pressed her face against the glass and pointed to the garden. She had only ever seen her brother's face in photos. "Sweetie, like I've told you before, your brother passed away in an accident."
No. He's really here.
She interrupted me, her eyes wide with excitement, urging me to go into the garden. Could this be one of those moments? Kate had a mysterious gift for finding lost children. At large events like autumn festivals, when kids would wander off, Kate always seemed to find them quickly. The islanders would praise her, calling her Detective Kate or the child-finding master, which always made her beam with pride, often asking me to pat her head. Could there be a guest's child lost in the garden? It's dangerous with the hurricane coming. I quickly stopped unpacking and took her to the garden. What I saw there shocked me beyond belief. A boy with brown hair blowing in the strong wind stood there, looking strikingly like my son. "Kevin. Kevin, is that you?" It felt like a dream, but there was no mistaking it. His long eyelashes, the shape of his nose that resembled mine, the mole on his cheek. He had grown taller over the past 4.5 years, and at 9 years old, his age and appearance confirmed he was my son. I ran toward him. He stared at me and whispered, "Mom? How is this possible? What's going on?" As I hugged him tightly, crying uncontrollably, Kevin also began to cry. Kate toddled up behind us, gently patting our backs. With the wind picking up, I led Kevin to a sheltered spot in the garden to hear his story. What he told me was nothing short of horrifying. What? How could this be? Fury boiled inside me as I listened, and in that moment, I swore I would take revenge. From that point on, I moved with a sense of urgency I didn't know I possessed, preparing for my revenge. I made Kate and Kevin promise to keep quiet about finding him. "I'll rescue you, I promise. Just hang in there a little longer." Both children nodded firmly at my words. I reached out to contacts, setting everything into motion. 2 weeks after reuniting with my son, the hurricane's impact turned out to be less severe than expected, and we were able to hold the scheduled 5th anniversary celebration for the Annex Hotel. All the preparations I made for this day. The large banquet hall was lined with tables and chairs, all ready for the guests. Dressed in a simple gown, I prepared to welcome everyone. For the celebration, I had invited the entire island community who had always supported us. Though Tony and Carol had said, no need to invite people from the mainland since it's so far, I secretly invited them anyway. It was clear why they wanted to keep me isolated on the island, limiting my relationships to the islanders. They didn't want anyone to tell me that Kevin was still alive.
Why are people from the main hotel here?
Even teachers from the mainland elementary school are here.
Seeing familiar faces among the guests, both Tony and Carol shot nervous glances at me, clearly flustered. If you're this shaken up before the event has even started, you're not going to last the rest of it, I thought, hiding a smug smile as I guided the guests to their seats. "Thank you all for coming today," I said into the microphone from the host's seat. The islanders responded with cheers and applause, while Tony and Carol stood to the side, nervously eyeing the unexpected mainland guests, worried I might speak to them. Ignoring them, I began showing a video presentation on the large television screen, showcasing the journey of the hotel over the years. It wasn't just about the hotel's development, I also talked about how we had worked hand in hand with the islanders. We organized fireworks shows, night fishing tours, and illuminations to attract domestic visitors, encouraging them to stay overnight rather than just visiting for the day. In the summer and fall, we held regular food and drink events with night stalls. For international tourists, we added multilingual signs and menus so they could enjoy their stay even without speaking the language. Thanks to these efforts, the island regained its vibrancy, and the hotel began to thrive. Over the course of 5 years, the annex had turned into a profitable business. It was so hard at the beginning. But the people of this island were so kind and supportive. I said, tears welling up as I spoke about the hotel's journey. The islanders, too, dabbed their eyes with handkerchiefs, nodding and smiling. And yet, amidst all this, a tragedy befell my life. I said, my voice lowering as I paused. Tony and Carol, who had been avoiding eye contact, turned to me with frightened expressions. I received word from my family that my son had passed away. A photo of 5-year-old Kevin appeared on the large screen, and Tony and Carol let out a small shriek. The mainland guests started whispering, "Is that Kevin? But he's alive, isn't he?" Seeing the guests murmur, both Tony and Carol turned pale, unable to run from the situation with everyone's eyes on them. They stared at the floor in silent panic. I shot a cold glance at the two of them and displayed the next photo. Kevin, now 9 years old, playing in a park with Tony and Carol. In truth, on the day of the hurricane 4.5 years ago, there had been no car accident. They had taken advantage of the boat cancellations, lied to me about Kevin's death, and secretly raised him on the mainland. Kevin revealed to me on the day we reunited that they had told him I was dead and that he would never see me again. He had no idea he had a sister, Kate, either. Kevin had cried, saying, "I thought I'd never see you again, Mom," and his sobs were swallowed up by the roaring hurricane winds that day. Tony and Carol even fabricated Kevin's memorial photo to deceive me, keeping me and my son apart for 4.5 years. I said, my eyes burning with rage as I glared at the two of them. Carol, sweating profusely, stammered,
What a crazy prank, right?
Tony, wiping his forehead, muttered,
I mean, seriously, who would even do something like that? It's not funny at all.
They tried to brush it off, but the mainland guests frowned and whispered, how could they tell such lies, and if they could lie about something like this, maybe the story about the divorce is fake too? Hearing the word divorce didn't surprise me in the slightest. When I invited the mainland guests to the celebration, I had personally called each one, gathering information as I went. I asked them to keep quiet about their invitation, telling them there would be a surprise during the event. In those conversations, I learned shocking details. Tony and Carol had told people that I had cheated on Tony, abandoned Kevin, and disappeared. They had told Kevin I had died, asking the neighbors to keep the secret. You've been telling lies left and right. You wanted to keep me on the island to hide the fact that Kevin was alive. I was shaking with anger, yelling at them. On that hurricane day, when Tony and Carol had insisted I stay in the nap room, they were trying to prevent the neighbors from seeing me, someone who was supposed to be missing. Tony and Carol, realizing their web of lies had unraveled, could only scratch their heads in desperation, realizing how deeply they were exposed. However, I did not ease up on my attack. I displayed photos of my husband flirting with another woman on the large television screen. This time, not only the mainland guests but also the islanders raised their voices in surprise, exclaiming, "That's the daughter of the wealthy Smith family, And so it was Tony who was cheating.
Hey! What do you think you're doing?
My husband yelled, his face flushed with anger. When he tried to lunge at me, I easily dodged, and he fell flat on his face from the momentum. Since the day I found my son, I had been tailing Tony for the 2 weeks leading up to the celebration, taking those photos. When I told the Islanders, I have something I absolutely need to do, they didn't ask any questions and helped me with running the inn and taking care of my daughter. What do you think you're doing? That's my line. You're married, and yet you're deceiving a single woman. Unbelievable. Without missing a beat, I played a recording I had secretly made using a bug I planted in the office Tony and Carol used for their breaks.
Hannah's pretty much useless now.
I heard my husband say with a laugh. Carol chuckled and added,
Her parents' inheritance and the savings she accumulated out of fear of being alone have finally run dry.
Then Tony complained,
Our marriage was just to get her to pay for part of the new resort's construction. She's pretty much useless now.
To that, Carol responded immediately,
We'll keep Hannah on the island as a lackey until we find someone new.
It was clear Tony had only married me for my money. And then Carol, her voice practically giddy, said,
Next up is the Smith family's fortune. That family is loaded.
Tony cheerfully replied,
I've been dating her for about 4 years now, and at 28, she's ready to settle down. She's all in for marriage.
Carol then suggested,
Until we have an heir, we can just let the rich girl take care of the kid.
To which Tony coldly responded,
Once I have an heir with the new woman, Kevin can conveniently disappear in a real traffic accident.
The murmurs among the guests grew louder as they listened to the recording.
Wait, this isn't what it sounds like.
Hannah! What have you done?
Ignoring their panicked outbursts, I looked away, leaving the two to squirm before the gathered guests. At that moment, the doors to the banquet hall swung open. Jenny, the wealthy heiress whom I had informed about their misdeeds beforehand, stormed in. With a face like a wrathful demon, she marched straight up to the two of them and stood firmly before them.
You told me you were divorced, didn't you?
In a voice as low as if it had crawled up from the depths of the earth, she grabbed Tony by the collar.
And you said you wouldn't have to take care of any kids. What's going on?
She brought her face so close it looked like she might headbutt him, then clicked her tongue in disgust. Her intensity was so terrifying that not just Tony, but the entire hall fell silent.
What you've done is marriage fraud. The next time we meet, it'll be in court.
She shoved Tony with a forceful push.
And don't you dare underestimate my father's lawyer.
She spat as she walked away. As Jenny sat down in an empty seat in the now eerily quiet hall, I reached into my bag and pulled out a certain document.
How the hell do you have that?
My husband shouted, panic setting in. It was a loan document. On the day I found my son, while they were busy with hurricane preparations, I had secretly investigated Carol's office in the main hotel. While going through the documents she kept there, I made a shocking discovery. Before Tony and I got married, they had already failed once at building a new hotel. And yet, undeterred, Carol had purchased cheap land on the remote island, thinking it would make for a good resort, even though it was clearly unprofitable. The total debt was $10 million. In their desperation to recover from their failing business, they had targeted women with money. You've constantly accused me of not having enough determination, not working hard enough, and not being capable of running the business. But the ones who are truly incompetent are you too. I held the $10 million loan document high for all the guests to see.
Oh, no!
Stop it!
Their faces turned bright red as they tried to snatch the document from me, hurriedly folding it up and stuffing it into Tony's pocket. But before they could breathe a sigh of relief, I thrust another document in front of them, a life insurance policy. I found this life insurance policy under my name in Carol's office, but I don't remember signing up for it. I tilted my head in mock confusion, watching their faces grow tense. They had been plotting to use my death to pay off their debts. The guests, horrified by their string of misdeeds, whispered, "We can't associate with people like them anymore. Divorce it is. I'll be working with my lawyer to ensure I get custody of the children, as well as alimony and child support." I looked at them with contempt, declaring loudly and clearly,
But we owe $10 million. That's impossible.
Okay, let's just calm down for now. We can work things out.
Desperate, Tony and Carol began trying to appease me. Don't make me laugh. Why would I believe anything from people who have targeted both my money and my life? You can rot in hell. I yelled at them with such fury that, unable to contain themselves any longer, the islanders rose to their feet. Never show your face in front of Hannah again. Get off this island, you heartless monsters! They shouted, gathering around me to protect me. Surrounded by the enraged islanders, Tony and Carol shrank in fear, too terrified to speak. Thank you all. So much, I said through tears, overwhelmed with gratitude for the islanders' support. Soon after, the lawyers Jenny and I had called arrived, and the two were dragged off to another room to discuss the divorce and alimony. It was thrilling to see them leave dejectedly, as the guests and I bid them farewell with applause. After that, my divorce from Tony was finalized, and my son, who had been separated from me for so long, safely returned to my side. Not only did Tony make an enemy of me, but also of a wealthy family, and he will undoubtedly be crushed in court by the lawyers. He's left with millions in debt, along with $100,000 in alimony and $200,000 in child support, $300,000 in total. His reputation has hit rock bottom. The hotel is up for sale, and he's no longer capable of managing anything. No doubt he'll live a miserable life, constantly chased by debt collectors, barely scraping by. By the way, Jenny's father personally thanked me, saying, "Thank you for exposing their wrongdoing before my daughter could marry him." And he did something incredible. Recognizing my initiative and management skills, he bought the island hotel that had been put up for sale. He made me the manager of the hotel. He also pledged support for the entire island, and now I'm busy every day with revitalizing the town. My son and daughter, who now live with me at the hotel, help out a lot and have become the face of the hotel, not just as a brother and sister, but as our star duo. We're enjoying life together as a family. One day, I hope you'll come visit our hotel, too. How did you like today's story? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next video.